Good morning and welcome back to Morning Movie News after a 2-week hiatus. But as you might recall, I promised you a little something special in exchange for said hiatus. What is it? Well, it's Beyond the Trailers Movie a Day giveaway, which starts tomorrow and runs for an entire month on weekdays. Here are the details. Every weekday, I will pick a clever or cute, or clever and cute comment from one of you, and you have to be a subscriber over on a video on the main Beyond the Trailer channel. And said person will get a $30 AMC gift card via email. So it'll be real fast and you don't have to worry about it getting lost in the mail. You'll be contacted through YouTube though, so keep an eye on it. And I'll let the person know that they won so they can check their messages and we can work it out, etc. Good luck! Many of you are quite cute and quite clever, so the competition will be tough. And I'd like to also thank Broadband TV for sponsoring Beyond the Trailers Movie a Day giveaway. It's going to be so much fun. I'll be reminding you, we have cool graphics, which will start tomorrow. But again, it starts tomorrow and it runs for an entire month, weekdays. All right, so let's get to today's episode, which is a D23 catch-up. And the reason I'm doing it in Morning Movie News instead of their own videos is because I think D23 kind of dropped the ball this year. They have D23 every other year, and I think that they didn't have enough visuals for non-attendees. Now, I understand that they want to have something special for people who shell out the cash to actually attend the convention. I think that's very nice. But in the past, they've had kind of a more even split of things just for attendees and then things that attendees get to see first, but that are released to the public. Just even still images. If you want to save the scenes and the trailers for the people in attendance, totally understand that. But not to have any even like concept art, I think was a big mistake. For instance, let me just say that for Wreck-It Ralph 2, I would have released an image of Taraji P. Henson's Yes, an algorithm which figures out what's the hottest trends at the moment on the internets. And they described, the description of the character is that she's made out of fiber optics, so she glows, and her hair and clothing are constantly changing to represent what's on trend. That's so cool. And I would have liked to have seen maybe one or two versions of the character just to get an idea for it. Like that would have, I think, generated a lot more discussion about Wreck-It Ralph 2 than what was generated. So as a result, D23 did dominate Twitter over the weekend, but I think it was more about outlets covering D23. I mean, we've discussed that. You have to really kind of keep an eye on why something's trending. Is it trending because there's genuine chatter, or is it because there's just so many articles being posted about something, right? And I think that in this case, it was the latter, because I just think there wasn't a lot for moviegoers to really get excited about, because again, there was just nothing to share, right? And I think that was a mistake. You could have had, like, for instance, a Mary Poppins poster, I think would have been a nice idea. A couple more stills, maybe. The motion graphic that they had that came out, I thought was weak, because we've already seen Emily Blunt as Mary Poppins, both on leaked photos in Entertainment Weekly, and the cover on Entertainment Weekly. So I didn't need to see her again. I was like, yep, that's what she looks like. I've already seen it. So anyway, I've picked 3 things that I want to discuss in depth, even though there's nothing to look at. All right, so the first is and I have to say, it's hard to get, I'm excited about Dumbo, but I have problems with Wreck-It Ralph 2 and The Incredibles 2 based on what I've heard and not seen. All right, I think you want to distract people. It's the same reason I think there should always be an end credit scene. So you can be like, it's like a little bit of a safety net. People are like, well, I don't love this, but look at that. That's so amazing. All right, so anyway, The Incredibles 2. So they said they have a new home, because don't forget their other one blew up, and it's like a superhero lair. And they had a funny joke about, how do you baby-proof a superhero lair? And you're like, oh, yuck, yuck, funny Brad Bird. But then the thing that they revealed, which I was a little bit nervous about, is that Mrs. Incredible, a.k.a. Elastigirl, who I love, by the way, is the one who's saving the world in this sequel, and Mr. Incredible is at home with the kids. And then they had like a scene that they showed where Jack uses his powers again, and he can multiply, and at the end, Mr. Incredible discovers that his baby son has powers. But I think that I have to say, at some point they have, they keep adding new powers for Jack. At some point they have to put some rules on him, some guidelines, because part of the fun of superhero characters is that you can like kind of guess what power they're going to use at the moment, or like, oh, I know how this is going to work out, or that was very clever. It's a little bit like a puzzle. And so to have a character that can just do anything, I think could eventually seem like cheating. But anyway, my real problem is this idea of turning Mr. Incredible into Mr. Mom. I think that feminism has to be careful. It's like a dog with a bone, it gets really excited about progress and then, it just goes too far. And I think that if there's too much of it, it just becomes overwhelming. Like, Ghostbusters, Ocean's 8, the new Doctor Who. A lot of you asked me to comment on Doctor Who. I've never watched an episode of Doctor Who, so I don't really feel that I can comment on it. And as far as whether or not people accept a female Doctor Who, the ratings will tell us, right? I mean, people get very supportive and they get very upset, but at the end of the day, the real way you can voice and you can express an opinion is whether or not you watch, and that's the only one that really matters. At the end of, unless start to have like a negative. But I think that the two sides are equal, so they'll just cancel each other out. But we'll see how the ratings are. But anyway, this just seems so bad to me for The Incredibles 2. Because why is Bob at home? The whole point of the first Incredibles was that he wanted to get back to superheroing. So I don't understand why he'd be like, I just feel it's like trading one office for another, one job. I don't understand why they can't be a team. And the great thing about Wonder Woman and Beauty and the Beast, ushering in a new era of feminism, and with very strong female contributors, by the way. Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot on Wonder Woman, and then of course Emma Watson on Beauty and the Beast. Really having a strong voice in that and how that was shaped. But maybe Brad Bird, I don't know. I really think that it's important, as was in Wonder Woman and Beauty and the Beast, that men and women were seen as equals, a team, not role reversal. I really am not particularly. I'll have to see it. Maybe I'll change my mind, but this just sounds, I'm not interested in, again, Mr. Incredible being Mr. Mom and all the bickering about, well, why do you get to go out? And isn't it hard to be at home? Don't you see what my life is like? Now we understand each other better. I would like to think that we've moved beyond that, and I think we've moved to other problems in the home. Or not problems, maybe is a good word for it, but other dilemmas and struggles, and I think this is like an old version of feminism, like Mr. Mom with Terry Garr, I believe, and Michael, I think it was Terry Garr, but Michael Keaton starred, came out like so long ago, I think early 80s. And so that's how old the Mr. Mom idea is. Why are we revisiting it in 2018? I hope that's not what it is. By the way, I had to put on a side note. I'm sure you heard about Pixar's pitch for the Untitled Dan Scanlon movie, which I thought was interesting. They were like, the magic is so prolific in this elven world that unicorns are like rats. I was like, that's pretty clever. But I couldn't believe that the pitch was, this is about my dead dad who I never met. Wow. I feel bad for Dan Scanlon, but I think Pixar is just like, we're not even going to pretend that we're not emotionally manipulative anymore. How is that the opening pitch for family entertainment? I just have a real problem with it. I think Pixar has become almost a parody of itself. But they're still taking it very seriously. I think parents are everyone's getting tired of Disney killing off parents and family members. I watched Big Hero 6 a little bit on the flight back from France on my vacation, and I was like, why does, and I don't want to get into it too much, but they had a ton of death in the beginning, hanging over that movie, and you're like, why is this necessary? There's other things that can spur personal development besides losing someone who's close to you. It's just really crummy. And for instance, I'll never forget when I saw The Good Dinosaur. I was next to a family, and they have a similar situation there at the beginning of the movie, and literally the parents and the kids next to me rolled their eyes and were like verbally were like, oh, this is so stupid. They do it every single time. I'm sure parents who take their kids to the movies are like, why do you gotta always kill me off? I'm having a nice time with my kid. Why do you gotta make them think about my mortality? So I have a really big problem with it. All right, now Wreck-It Ralph 2. I thought it was fun that they had all the Disney princesses there, and they're like, oh, look, we've assembled all the Disney princesses on stage. I was like, I don't care about their voice. Yay for the voice actors. But you can't show me a still of all the Disney princesses in Wreck-It Ralph. You're going to show it in the trailer, so just show me now. Again, save the scene for the attendees. Give the rest of us a still. But I was really surprised to hear about them going to Oh My Disney, literally going to the Oh My Disney website, which is owned by Disney, and interacting with Disney princesses and Star Wars and Marvel. It sounds like House of Mouse, the movie. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that was like an animated show on the Disney Channel where all the Disney characters hung out like at a nightclub, right? It was weird, but that's what this sounds like to me. I just think it's too much cross-promotion. The original picture for Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet or whatever, was a lot of fun because it was making fun of like things on the internet that weren't Disney, like Google and Amazon. And I think that that's what everybody's looking forward to. I don't think anybody wants Wreck-It Ralph to become we don't want Wreck-It Ralph and Vanellope von Schweetz to become hosts of a Disney infomercial, right? I mean, we get it, Disney, you're full of win. I love Disney. I couldn't be a bigger Disney fan. But that made me a little nervous. But again, I haven't seen it, so let's see. I mean, I think sometimes, I don't know. We'll see. I like the world of Wreck-It Ralph. I'd like it to remain its own thing. Maybe they're it's a little side note. It's a little thing that bothers me, for instance, whenever they show a montage of movies at a Disney theme park and they're trying to show like movie history. They actually the Great Movie Ride's closing, so it won't be an issue for much longer. But they only show Disney movies, and I'm like, that's not really an accurate representation of movie history because you're only showing from one studio. I mean, sometimes they'll have other things that they've licensed for the ride, like Aliens, the Alien franchise and stuff. But that just is something that's always frustrated me. All right, but let's talk about Dumbo. I feel good about Dumbo. I have no doubt this will be a charming film, but it seems small to me, so I hope they kept the budget down. Dumbo looked very cute, but Dumbo's he's a very popular ride in the theme parks because he's an all-ages ride, but I don't really know how big he is as a character overall. But I was so pleased that Colin Farrell has been cast in the film. I mean, he wasn't the first choice. That was Will Smith, and he turned it down so he could be the genie. But I'm just happy that Colin Farrell is experiencing a resurgence. He was in Fantastic Beasts. He's not going to stay there, unfortunately. I think most of us would prefer that. But he was in The Beguiled. He's in the upcoming Steve McQueen Widows movie with Viola Davis. I think Liam Neeson has a small role there, too. But the fact that he's starring in Dumbo, I hope that Dumbo does well. He also was in Saving Mr. Banks, and that did not do well. Colin Farrell, I'm still not quite sure how he translates at the box office. Fantastic Beasts did well, but it might be too big for Colin Farrell to derail it. But I just am a huge Colin Farrell fan. And as I've told you before, I got the chance to interview him on the green carpet for Epic, and he was just the nicest person. He came early. He did every single interview on the carpet. He even talked to, at the end of the carpet for a family movie, they often have kid reporters. And he talked to all the kid reporters. He was just such a nice man. He was just really, really nice. So I've been a particular fan ever since. As I've said before, Colin Farrell and Jude Law are the nicest people I've ever talked to. And Benedict Cumberbatch is really nice, but he's always very late to red carpet, so he's always super rushed. Jude Law is actually always late as well, but he doesn't go in on time to the screening, to the premiere. He just waits outside with the reporters and makes sure he finishes the line. So it's interesting, but all are really nice individuals. So anyway, this is Colin Farrell will play a former circus star back from the war. And Danny DeVito, a circus owner, hires him to care for Dumbo, and then Colin Farrell's kids discover that Dumbo can fly. Oh boy! So Michael Keaton's promoter and Eva Green's aerial artist help make Dumbo a star. Although Michael Keaton is supposed to be a villain, and his character has it's kind of like a variation on the name P.T. Barnum. And so on that note, I think this seems very similar to The Greatest Showman, which is Hugh Jackman's P.T. Barnum movie. There's about a 1.5 year difference between the two movies when they come out. But we've discussed that Hugh Jackman is had done revisionist history on the circus and P.T. Barnum himself, making him like this SJW hero, when in reality, as one of you pointed out, P.T. Barnum's most famous quote is, "There's a sucker born every minute." That doesn't really sound like a prince of a guy. But anyway, and I don't think the circus was about celebrating what makes us different. I think it was about exploiting it. So anyway, it was a quote-unquote freak show. That was the selling point. So I think it'll be interesting to see if maybe Dumbo is a little bit more, actually ends up surprisingly being the more realistic of the two. Zendaya's playing an aerial artist there, and then you have Eva Green as one in Dumbo. But here's what's interesting to me. I wonder how Helena Bonham Carter feels that Eva Green is now getting all her roles. I think it's just, you'll notice that Helena Bonham Carter doesn't work that much now. She's relied too heavily on Tim Burton. Although now at this point, Tim Burton has established a pattern with the women that he's dating and casting in his movies. I mean, yes, Tim Burton and Eva Green are dating, and now he's giving her all of Helena Bonham Carter's roles, just like he used to cast Lisa Marie in all his movies. Now, the first thing I want to say is that I don't think it's particularly professional to cast your lady friend in your movies. Even though I think Helena Bonham Carter, Lisa Marie wasn't really an actress, but Helena Bonham Carter and Eva Green are both quite talented. But always casting your girlfriend in your movies, it kind of makes it seem like the female role isn't that important, right? And then the fact that the studio allows it, I mean, it kind of gives the image where they're like, we don't care who the female actress is. Like, whatever, do whatever you want, Tim. If you want to put your lady friend in it and make her happy, we don't care, because women don't sell movies or some garbage like that. But I have to say, I was looking up to see if Tim Burton was dating Eva Green, and then I was looking into the Lisa Marie situation. But in both cases, Tim Burton transitioned, female partners on movies where both women were working. And in both cases, he's on the red carpet with one on each arm. And I wonder if the women, I wonder if the one who was being replaced knew that she was about to be replaced by the woman standing, on the other side of her boyfriend on the red carpet. It was kind of sleazy. I mean, although James Cameron kind of does, Linda Hamilton wasn't in Titanic. So, I think that makes it a little less worse. I don't know. But on Planet of the Apes remake, both Lisa Marie and Helena Bonham Carter were in that movie, and then Tim Burton was like, new model. And they all look alike, by the way. So if you find yourself, I'll just finish the thing. And then on Dark Shadows, there's a picture, with Helena Bonham Carter and Eva Green with him on the red carpet, because they were both in that movie. So for any woman working with Tim Burton in the future, or I guess Eva Green, if you're standing on a red carpet and there's another woman who looks just like you on the other arm of Tim Burton, he's probably replacing you, or, in the process of replacing you, because this is what he does. I don't know why his publicist isn't like, Tim, you got to stop at least being so obvious about it. Not cool. All right, so anyway, just concentrate on making good movies again, Tim Burton. I think he's a little off his game these days. So anyway, the viewer question. This came actually on Twitter. And I accidentally deleted the name of the person who asked it when I was doing my notes here. I apologize. Oh, here it is. Zeozoph. So Zeozoph said, "Hi, Grace. In your review of the movie War for the Planet of the Apes, you talked about the score by Michael Giacchino. Love Michael Giacchino. So I wanted to ask you, who are your favorite composers? And what are your favorite movie scores? I look forward to your answer. Thank you so much." Thank you, Zeozoph. Great question. So I love Michael Giacchino. I think he's very talented. Although I think that a lot of composers, from what I've seen, are uneven. I don't think there's any composer who always delivers a fantastic score. But I think right now, I'd say my favorite composer is Michael Giacchino. A lot of people like Hans Zimmer. I'm not a big Hans Zimmer fan. I feel like his scores don't particularly stand out. I don't think he's very good at making scores where when you hear them, you're like, oh, that's from this movie. But anyway, so Michael Giacchino is my favorite composer right now. Now, I really like, film scores, because I think they're great for working to, because they don't have any dialogue, and it's hard to write or concentrate on something when you're listening to words. So my favorite, I've mentioned this before, but just to reiterate, and I've added a new one. My favorite movie scores are Dr. Zhivago, so good, so epic, so romantic, so good. And then also I really like the Blade Runner score, so I'm excited to see, hear the new one for the new movie. And then I've added Eddie the Eagle. I just love Eddie the Eagle so much. It's got this crazy 80s vibe, but it has a lot, it's an original score, so they were able to duplicate that feel so well. But what I like about Eddie the Eagle, particularly, I think it's like called Eddie the Eagle, that's the track. I think it's the second track or something. But it just has this feel like where you feel you can do anything. It's just so uplifting and upbeat. And so I really like it. I'll often listen to it when I'm getting ready in the morning or getting ready at night. It just really like cheers me up, and it's like, yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever seen Prep and Landing, but they're like rev the engines with the reindeer, and a little elf comes down and he's like, yeah, and the reindeer are like, yeah. So I thought that was funny on a way to rev the engines. And so Eddie the Eagle is my little elf that comes down and goes, yeah, Grace, you can do it. And I'm like, I can do it. And that's a lot what the movie's about. If you haven't seen Eddie the Eagle, it's just such a good movie. It stars Taron Egerton and Hugh Jackman, produced by Matthew Vaughn. It's just so good, and it's just such an uplifting story, and it's just, I think it'll I think the message is really spectacular, and it's just really well made. It's just really, really good. And I think also very realistic. It's not one of those like feel good, you can do anything movies that you're like, yeah, but this is a movie. Although I have to tell you, they changed a lot from the real story, which is unfortunate. But it's really good. You should definitely watch it. Very, very good. So thank you for your questions, Ziozoph. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I look forward to your entries for the Beyond the Trailer Movie a Day giveaway. Write your thoughts down below about today's episode, anything you'd like to see covered tomorrow, and of course, any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.